Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you're watching or listening to this, and welcome to Link Up Leaders, your direct link to leaders in supply chain and e-commerce. My name is Lisa Kinski. I'm your producer and co-host, and joined as always by Francois Jeffrey. Francois, happy Friday, happy Earth Day. How are you?
Is it Earth Day today?
It is Earth Day today.
Oh, happy Earth Day. I feel like it used to be a lot bigger of a deal when we were younger.
Because the public school system made you celebrate it.
That's
Probably.
that's probably it.
Down here, that was the case. I assume that it was the same across the nation. I don't know.
Maybe as an adult, it's not as much. All you notice is more advertising because of ESG from major corporations for Earth Day. That's pretty much it.
That's true. Arguably, it should be a bigger deal for the adults because we're the ones with the power and the ability to make the change, whereas children aren't quite as, though they are more passionate, they don't have the same control over their team.
Conspiracy theory. We think that we are, but we'll leave it at that.
We think that we are. What do you mean?
There are much higher powers that actually have the control for all this stuff. Nike's ad for having something on Earth Day is changing absolutely nothing. Okay, it's not going to change.
I'm talking about the individual consumer. If you make your changes on the day to day, and I believe this with elections too, and we're not going to get into that, but if you speak with your dollars, if you make the change to stop buying single-use bottled whatevers, if you stop purchasing fast fashion from places like Shein and whatever else, and you just thrift or you upcycle things, like, you can and will make a change. And if you speak with your dollars, my dad always says that, like, you can. Now, marketing people are smart and we can be manipulated very easily. However,
we're saying all this as you probably have a few packages coming from Amazon in the next few days.
Don't air out laundry.
It's spread out in over multiple days for different orders that you just could have probably ordered on one day. But we'll not get into any of this. I'm doing well. To answer your first question, I am energetic. It is Friday.
Good.
It's beautiful and sunny outside. Can't really beat it here in Georgia. How about you?
You really can't. I'm great. I was just telling Vanessa, I was like, it's kind of a wild Friday because, well, it feels wild because one, there's like nobody in the office right now. So it feels like it's supposed to be a vacation day. We had this yesterday too. And then it's beautiful and sunshiny. I have all these fabulous windows and I can see how glorious it is outside. And it's going to be 82 degrees, which just makes me want to leave work and just sit outside, just be an outside plant somewhere.
Yeah, we should get like a table or something outside.
I was going to say something about that. We need to get some like outdoor patio furniture and I was thinking like out there in the front, but then we like kind of share an open walkway with our neighbors, but they can use the bench.
We'll subtly just like, we'll leave magazines of outdoor patio furniture just spread around the office and hopes that like Jay and Schwan will just like stumble upon them.
Subliminally message.
Yeah. Marketing. There we go. Marketing once again.
I think we can save the paper and just ask Jay and Schwan.
We could do that too. Yeah. No, that's a good point. But also very excited to talk to who we have today because there is not much representation of the Hispanic community in the Amazon space from what I've seen. The only other person that I've known, there's two. One is Carlos Alvarez, and I'm ashamed to say I forgot the other guy's name. And I don't even know.
Does his first name start with an A? Because he works with Carlos a lot.
I think so. So, and that's really the only, aside from Vanessa, who we have on today, it's the only representation that we have really in this space of like the front facing. And it's a shame because it's such an untapped culture. It's a completely different mindset, especially if you come from like a first generation background of Hispanic parents, which I do. And it's just a completely different mindset, I think, in regards to consumer habits and knowing like how the Hispanic community can really be a great customer for you. And so they're some of the most loyal too. Once they find what they like, my mom has bought the same Tresemme hairspray, I think, for the past like 25 years. The most loyal that you could possibly find out there. But I'm sure Vanessa's going to be able to help shed some more light on that today.
Absolutely. Let's go on ahead and bring her on. Today we have with us Vanessa Hung with Online Seller Solutions, and you guys might have seen her speaking at the Prosper show. If not, you can catch that on the Prosper remix if they're still selling that unpaid ad for Prosper. But Vanessa, welcome.
Hi guys, thank you. Your conversation before was very interesting, and I'll say that I knew about the Earth Day because I went to Google, and in Google there is the most shocking doodle ever.
I know.
I'm like, I'm dying.
It's upsetting. It's very upsetting because Earth Day when you're a kid is all like a little more animated, I guess you can say. It's like, go plant a tree. Let's, recycle some water bottles and stuff like that. And that's great. And that ultimately helps, but they're really driving in on the climate change. And it is an alarming photo. If you guys are watching this live, just go to Google, or I think they archive their doodles. I think you can like Google.
Yes.
Okay.
It's funny because when you click on it, you see all the Earth Day doodles from the past, like in the past years, and all of them are like an earth with a smiley face or a tree or a plant, and this one is like how the glacier in Greenland is like
just melting.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay.
Yeah. It's very upsetting. It's very alarming for sure.
And about the Hispanic community, of course, Carlos Alvarez is the biggest one. He's like first generation. And Alexei, which I don't know if that's the one.
I think so, yeah.
He's my co-host for the podcast in Spanish, but he's not technically, he's half Cuban. Like, because the other half is Russian. So
Cuban.
He's like an interesting mix.
Cuban, I no disrespect to Cubans, but Cubans, they're Hispanic, but kind of they're out there.
Don't start a war.
They're not
in the comments.
I'm Bolivian. That's South America. Cubans, Dominicans. They are Dominicans. They are Cubans, but we're Hispanics. I don't know. It's just a thought. I don't know.
Yeah. No. Well, I'm excited because seeing more people from the Hispanic community coming into because it's not that there are no people from the Hispanic or with a Hispanic background in the community. It's just that they are not coming to these events. And I feel that something that struck to me recently was the power that we have by being representing this community in the space, or being here, me talking to you as a Hispanic woman. That brings light to all the women that are maybe in the space in the e-commerce that they're just too shy to be, okay, there is a space for us. So I really take this position very seriously. And it's not like, it's something part of my mission to be here and to talk. And when people say like, I see you everywhere, it's like, yes, I like that. And it's an intention, because I don't know if a 12-year-old that I see in TikTok on videos on Instagram and how to sell and all the stuff has that view. But she says like, oh, but I'm Hispanic, I don't have that opportunity. So it's a mission besides from what I do in my business, which is like helping sellers, but it's like representing the minorities. And thank you guys for allowing me to be in this space today.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us and for kind of taking lead in that position, because that's something I noticed early on when I joined the e-commerce and supply chain world, is that it is changing. I've seen it change in the last 2 years that I've been here, but to where there's more women kind of visible and kind of in the forefront and leading these businesses and, making a name for themselves in the space, but we could use more. So
all the time.
Thank you for, being part of that trailblaze. But for anybody who's not familiar with you, tell us a little bit about your background and kind of how you got into the, online selling community.
Okay. So, Vanessa, I'm from Venezuela. I was born and grew up in Venezuela, moved to the States in 2017. And I started knowing about Amazon, about the concept of what FBA is and how the business goes and runs and all of that. I started learning in 2014. So watching a lot of YouTube videos. I did one academy, one course. Back in Venezuela, that was not a possibility. That was it is impossible to do business from Venezuela in Amazon FBA in the States, in Amazon.com. And I was like, no, that's not a possibility. That's not real, whatever. I just took the learning and just save it in my mind. And then when I moved to the States, I got a position as an e-commerce manager for a company that had multiple retail stores they wanted to get online. So I helped with that through Amazon. So all the learning that I did, I got the opportunity to apply it in this position, and then eventually start consulting on the side, and then that became bigger until the point that I started my own agency. And what is different about my approach to selling on Amazon is that I focus on the unsexy stuff of a Seller Central account. Because most people that have agencies, they probably focus in PPC or branding or ranking, stuff like that. I don't do any of those. I do the boring flat files, logistics, like account health issues, performance metrics, problem solving. And I love it. I am really in love with what I do. It's extremely exciting for me. It is super boring for other people, and that's why I'm in this mission of teaching people how to do that and do it better, or at least breaking the stigma of like, oh, that's super hard or super frustrating, or it takes a lot of time, or it's super difficult. It is complex, but I believe that with the right tools, with the right understanding, we can be better at it, and understand also that for your Amazon or e-commerce business, if you don't have your account right, if you don't have that foundation, no matter what branding, what PPC you run, it won't work. So we in the industry, or I believe, in my opinion, is that we underestimate a lot management. It's not to go to when you start learning about selling on Amazon, you start learning about sourcing or branding or brand building or PPC, but never about like, okay, how can I create a shipment plan, or how can I manage something, or how can I problem solve? So yeah, here in the space, doing the things in the agency, teaching people, and also I have a podcast in Spanish called Wizard of Ecom en Español, which Alexei, which is the sister or sibling podcast of Wizard of Ecom in English, which is Carlos Alvarez's podcast. And there I literally just got the mission of like, I'm gonna speak to the Vanessas of the world in 2014 that think that they cannot make a business out of this idea from Latin America. So we speak in Spanish and teach sellers or everybody to start selling in e-commerce in general, not only Amazon, but open those opportunities to the Hispanic market. And that's like a huge commitment that I have with the region. And that's why that's something that I'm gonna talk about here today. It's like, yeah, that's Vanessa's mission, but how can I translate this to helping sellers sell more and do more stuff with them, with the commitment of like, how can I also help these consumers that are underserved?
Mm-hmm. Well, and you'll be happy to know that you're in good company. We also love the unsexy stuff. That's pretty much all we want to talk about. But we'll be sure to link your podcast in the description as well, so that anybody who's interested and wants to check that out, they can.
It's funny. You mentioned one piece is just the shipping plan. The shipping plan alone is one piece that no one, at least when we work on the sourcing side with Noviland, with newer sellers that have never created a shipping plan, that is the last thing that they think about. They go through the entire sourcing process. They get shipped, but when it comes time to get the shipping quote, they say, "Oh, Amazon's just going to handle that for me."
Yeah.
Well, Amazon is probably going to break your shipments up into 3 different places, so you need 3 shipments, and then you have to manage those 3 shipments too. So, are you going to ship all 3 of those independently? Are you going to bring them here and then cross-dock them to all 3 so you could centralize it in one hub? It's a very complex part. You're absolutely right, and it is very unsexy, but it is one of the most critical components to your supply chain. Now, when you're going through this, do you talk to them through the sourcing and through the supply chain side as well?
Yes and no. For management, we help in every situation that we can to walk them through, but we don't really specialize at all. It's like how we can integrate Seller Central in the best way that gets like seamless through your process, right? But no, that's what I think you guys are experts in, like helping with the logistics and shipping. We just focus in managing their account.
Yeah, no, and it's a very critical component, because sometimes they'll come to us and they think that we handle that part too, but it's very much an Amazon thing. We're not Amazon people, we're supply chain people.
Exactly.
But it's so heavily integrated, right? I mean, Amazon essentially itself is a huge supply chain conglomerate. They're owning every piece of it, all the way down to the delivery to the consumers and the reverse logistics. But can you tell us a little bit about when you started to get into the e-commerce journey of being an e-commerce manager? Was that for Amazon itself?
No. They not with Amazon. It was with a company that had retail stores and then wanted to get online. They had a website that was not really big, like a Shopify thing.
Okay.
And then we jumped into Amazon, and that's where we grew like exponentially. So we grew to set 7 figures in 10 months. Then we opened like 3 other accounts. So there was like all the lines were split in different accounts, and all of them growing at a massive rate. Eventually, what happened there was they slowed down. It was so much that Amazon was demanding, like as a consumer. So they needed to put more products, and they still had the retail stores, so they couldn't keep up. So they chose to stay with retail stores because that's their business, and it's been their business for almost 30 years. And yeah, slow on Amazon. So they're still there, but not as big as when I was part of the team initially, like full-time in their position. But yeah.
So did you have e-commerce experience going into that?
No, nothing. Just the course, and that's the funny story. When I went to interview for this position in this company, it was not for e-commerce. It was just like procurement, backend, catalog, like Excel things, because I'm good at Excel. I like Excel. That's why I love flat files. So I went there, and the manager that was like interviewing me said something like, "Oh, we also want to expand online, potentially to Amazon." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, Amazon FBA." And his eyes were like, "What? Do you know about Amazon FBA?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course," because I did some I did like a training when I was in Venezuela, just watching YouTube videos and stuff, and following people that teach about that. And he's like, "Perfect, let's do it." I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about Amazon. I never. So obviously, I saw Seller Central accounts before, but through a computer, like to a YouTube video where they share their screen or something like that, but never really working inside. So I took the chance. They believe in me. They gave me the opportunity. I'm extremely grateful for that, for sure. They are a big part of the journey. And yeah, I learned everything with them.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm sure that had to have been I don't understand Seller Central. I'm not a seller. We don't work in that space. But anytime I just try to find like a new release that we've heard of about like, the surcharges, I'm like, I can't navigate this. I don't understand. But I also know it's because I'm not logged in. So getting into kind of what we were talking about at the very beginning, specifically selling to the Hispanic community that's in the US. Now we can talk about expansion internationally as well. But Francois, you had mentioned something about how the mentality in the Hispanic, consumer community is very different. They're very, very loyal. Vanessa, kind of what's your take on the difference between kind of the American consumer and the Hispanic consumer, and how maybe e-commerce
Hispanic Americans, Lisa.
Hispanic Americans. Sorry, Hispanic American. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm joking with you.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm gonna shut up.
Let's refer to Hispanic community in general. Look, I love this that we start with this, because I will need to give a little bit of background for the sellers that are watching, and history statistics before we jump into what you can do to solve it or to address that market.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing, the Hispanic market or demographic is the fastest growing demographic in the United States. So the fastest one, the biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have that they spent a year, or well, last year, they spent over $2 trillion in like consumables. Like that's their purchasing power. So we're talking about like a huge purchasing power. Then the other thing that is the reason what I feel that it is the biggest mistake we're doing, and the most amount of money like that we're leaving behind in the table, is that 75% of all the whole demographic is 35 years or younger. We're talking about millennials and Gen Z.
Mm-hmm.
So they are native shoppers. They are native online shoppers.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about that, you put everything together and you're like, sit and think about reflecting on how big this opportunity is. It's massive. There are 70 million people in the United States that speak Spanish, or that get recognized as the Hispanic community. So by that you see like, oh my God. And the thing is, we have been focused so much in the English one, just everything in English, having all the keywords in English and all of that, that this market is extremely underserved. And extremely. So when Francois was saying like, oh, my mom is super loyal because this brand, she purchased this brand and she's purchasing over and over, probably she had a great experience, or maybe that brand has an experience in Spanish, so she could connect with that brand better, versus other brands that are focused only in selling to the American community or the American population, which don't really relate that much, right? So it's when we do ads, for example, we see always like the classic middle class family, all blonde hair, blue eyes. So we're talking about 70 million consumers in the States that they don't really get connected with that image. The same way it's that we are not speaking to them. We are not speaking their language. And of course, if you think about, and I'm going to talk about specifically on Amazon, you need to have your listings in English, because the primary language in Amazon.com is English. Like there is no other way. You cannot create a listing completely in Spanish. That's against the policies. But Amazon recognized this need and this population and said like, okay, what are we going to do to address that? So in 2017, they opened their whole Spanish experience in their website and in the app. So what happened right now is that you can go to Amazon.com, change the language, and put it. You have two options in .com, is English and Spanish. So you could change to Spanish, and your whole experience is in Spanish. You see everything in Spanish. The seller, the Amazon.com is a little bit different, so they show you different stuff. So if you think about that, we're talking about a separate algorithm. It's different, and this is proven, and I have seen the how the system works. So I'm gonna explain that later. But this is a complete different, like a shadow of the Amazon.com. So they start translating everything, like kind of automation, like with Google Translate or whatever, like translating. And that is where I think we make the mistake, is we are still not talking to them, because the machine is talking to them, right? And if you know, as an American speaker, the English speaker, probably you will be able to tell very quick when a listing on Amazon or anywhere in the internet was written by a non-English speaker, not native English speaker, right? You notice that it's like
immediately,
pretty obvious.
Pretty obvious, right? So the whole Hispanic community is used to being served like that. Oh, if I want the Spanish information, I'll have to Google translate that, and sometimes it's not accurate.
Yeah, and just decipher it on your own. Go by pictures. Yeah.
Yes, and sometimes the picture, again, they don't really talk to the Hispanic community. To me, like I don't see myself in that emotion, or I don't see myself in that lifestyle picture, or those things. So there is a disconnect, and there is a way to fix it, or to create a better shopping experience for that underserved community. So if you want, I don't know if you have any questions about what I said about the stacks and the history, but we can jump into what is the stage right now and how to fix it, and so sellers can get away with a quick step-by-step process to just do it and jump on it right now.
Yeah, I mean, the language change thing was something that I didn't know until you had showed me in our pre-interview call, or pre-podcast introduction call. But what I'm curious about now is, okay, so because Google Chrome does kind of have that translate option. I think you can do it on most pages, and you just click translate and select your language. So Chrome does it, and you're saying that Amazon does it within its own ecosystem. But if somebody has a listing that they've optimized or translated with a native Spanish speaker, which appears, like, can they upload a secondary listing option for whenever somebody clicks on there? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, that's not the state of art of the system right now. So the technology does not allow us to customize our translation.
Okay.
But they help to translate better. So what Amazon have right now, and how the system works, is something called Neural Translation Machine. And that is different from a Google Translate regular, like flat kind of translation, because this machine learning system takes a lot of context, semantics, and like features of the product that are not translatable. So, for example, a brand name cannot be translated, or a part number cannot be translated. So this is a more sophisticated system. Again, it is not perfect 10 out of 10. If you're a native Spanish speaker, you notice when it's a machine that translated that, but they're getting very, very good at translating with the machine. Unfortunately, at the moment, we don't have the process to say, like, okay, I'll optimize my whole catalog in native Spanish, and I'm gonna upload that. That's not working at the moment in Amazon.com. You could optimize that for Mexico or Spain, but not on .com. The thing that you can do, and if for the ones that are listening right now that are selling on Amazon, go to your product detail page. So go on Amazon.com, find your product, and on the top right corner, you will see the flag, the American flag. When you click on the flag, you will have the options to change the language. Once you change the language, you will see if there is a disconnection or a discrepancy between what is in English and what is in Spanish. And that discrepancy is very obvious. Sometimes I've seen that in English, the title have 200 characters, or like, I don't know, 50 words. And in Spanish, it only has 3. So that's where the disconnection is. And this is one of the reasons why so if you have been in the space for a while, you could have heard the thing of, oh, you should put Spanish keywords in the back end of your listing, or you should advertise in keywords in Spanish. And yeah, that's true. But the problem is that when we do that and we are not optimized for that experience, that's worthless, basically. The clicks, or the Hispanic consumer that goes to our product, is not seeing what they need to see. they are not getting the message that you want to transmit to them. So this is where the system is like broken, and we can fix it. Maybe that some of you that are listening go to the website and click on the English, you're seeing your listing, and then you click on the translation and everything is perfect, meaning like there is a direct relationship between what you are saying in English and what you're saying in Spanish. That's how it's supposed to be. And the thing is, since Amazon changed this experience in 2017, they are not updating listings every time we update the English listing. So also there is a practice in the space where you optimize your listings often. So some people say every month, every 2 months, every 6 months, every year, whatever. You optimize, you put new keywords, you change like the arrangement of the words, you may put new bullet points and stuff like that. The thing is that the system, it does not translate automatically. So if they receive a new title, that won't get translated into Spanish automatically unless you request it. And that's the whole point of this. You can request that. You can request a better experience. You can request a better translation. Again, you cannot request your own translation to be put in the front, but you could request some stuff. And that's a great part of addressing that market. And then when you are optimizing the front end, meaning you change everything and you're talking to the Hispanic community in something that is understandable, then you can go and put keywords in your backend and you can start advertising for it. And like a huge thing here, guys, is that the Spanish keywords are extremely like cheap compared to the English keywords. And even better, there is a different algorithm to rank in Spanish. So if, for example, and let's use an example. I want to say a pillow. I always use the pillow example. So
it's better than the water bottle that we've been using for a year and some change. So prefer a pillow.
Pillow. So you have a pillow, and if you click, if a customer goes and look on Amazon for pillow, you may appear in the third page, right? Which is not great. But again, this is a very tough and competitive keyword. Like we're talking about like one keyword, like crazy amount of competition. Okay, you're in the third page. But then if you look for that same keyword, like the direct translation in Spanish, which is almohada, you could appear in the first page of the search if you are optimized for it and if you have those keywords in the backend. And on top of that, you get brownie points when you advertise on it. So it is crazy. And I've seen this where somebody that is in page 12 in the major keyword in English is ranking number 2 in organic search for Spanish for the exact same keyword. So I like to think about this on, it's not like, oh, this is super overwhelming, a new market, now I need to do new pictures and I need to get a, no. I mean, if you want the full experience, you could do it, but on Amazon that does not, it's not possible. But what you can do is like treat this market as a niche. So, all the time you hear people in the space saying like, no, you should go very deep in your niche, very, very specific, go down and down and down because the riches are in the niches, which I agree. And I think that the Hispanic community can be a huge niche. First, because it's underserved. So if you compare your listing to your competitors and they're not optimized and you are, who's gonna win there? Obviously you. And maybe their front end experience is optimized. Maybe they have the right translation, but they are not adding keywords in the back end or advertising for those keywords. Again, the amount of it's so funny because if you go to an English keyword and you see all the space for sponsored products, ads, banner, blah blah blah, so like, it's huge in English. When you go to the same keyword in Spanish, You may have, sometimes you don't even have, you may have a sponsor brands at the top and maybe 3 at the top of the page. That's it. So it is a ocean, uh, blue ocean, yeah. It's completely like on top. So the potential there is unlimited. And what people say, and people have come to me and say like, yeah, Vanessa, but those keywords don't have a lot of searches a month. And yeah, that could be probably something there, but that doesn't mean this doesn't cost anything. Like optimizing doesn't cost you anything. It's just like open the case and optimizing and put in the keywords and adding the ads. It's not like you need to change something huge. And again, I'll see it like that's another niche that you can start selling on without even changing a product or changing much of your offer, nothing at all. It's just an opportunity. So people say like, oh, but that's only, I don't know, 300 search a month. And over a year, that's a lot. That's over 3,600 searches a year. So imagine that you convert on a 10%, because again, there are no more much options that are optimized for the Hispanic. So if you can capture 10% of that, we're talking about 360 sales a year more. So who can complain about that? Like, and that's, I'm talking about one keyword, right? And we have many different keywords. It's not like for pillow, it's not just almohada. That's only one. And maybe, and that's another thing, another layer of awesomeness that this community has, is that we speak Spanish differently in every single country. It's different. So I presented on this topic with the example of a griddle, right? The word griddle have in Spanish, almost every country has their own keyword for that. So in Mexico, the keyword is, or the word is comal. In Venezuela, it's budare. In Argentina, parrilla. In Spain, another. So imagine like you with your same product can tap into multiple niches that you didn't know there existed. You just need to add keywords and advertise for that and be optimized for it. So we're talking about like multiple lines of products, which are not different, but multiple things that you can do by just optimizing for it. So I don't know, it's extremely exciting. And every time I see it and I keep researching and I see the possibilities, it's more and more. Something that I'll add to it also is that many countries have different holidays from the States. So for example, in Colombia, Mother's Day is not in May, it's in June. So imagine that a seller that sells something, a gift for moms, could have 3 or 4 different Mother's Day in a year. Like, and we are not aware because it's like it's like we don't know that that market exists. It is amazing. It exists. Has so much money that they are already expending, and they feel underserved because people are not doing a great job. So I believe if you build the optimization and you get better at it, you can win that market very easily. And again, that's the opportunity, and it's completely on top.
It's free. All you have to do is just some research.
Just do it.
Literally. Yeah. It's amazing.
No, that's awesome. That's something that I don't think I've ever heard of. It's always about, and it's funny because anytime someone is looking for just increasing any incremental amount of sales, even if that's 1%, 2%, that moves the needle, especially when you're growing. It's always, hey, I want to enter another marketplace, or hey, I want to go international, without even finding this level of optimization of, hey, are you even optimized in your own country, in Amazon FBA that you're working in? So we talked a little bit about the keywords, but what about the imagery? Do you see a lot of companies using imagery to speak to the 70 million untapped and underserved community here in the U.S.?
I don't think so in general. I always obviously for each brand is different, and I think they try to target their audience, right? And you should, when you're doing your product research, you should know who your target audience is, and you should put pictures that reflect that target audience. And on Amazon, it's not possible to have like a different imagery for the Spanish. And that is why it is so important that the copy and the information is updated, because that's the only way they can find information. Because if they see the images and they have infographics that are in English, that doesn't do anything. Like, I mean, you cannot change that. You can change the information in the A+ content, so you can optimize that also. So everything that is written you can translate and make it better. But as far as images, as at the moment, and I hope, and I'm it's funny because Amazon added this experience in 2017, and I haven't heard anybody talking about it until now that I discovered this. And I'm like, guys, like, I
It's
don't
been
I
5
don't
years.
know. I mean, we are doing something wrong. And I come to podcasts, and I try every time that I get the opportunity to speak at conference, I try to plug in a little bit of this, because if Amazon hears me and say like, okay, we can make this better, and they give us the opportunity to optimize those experiences and be super laser, like they call it laser targeting. If we can do that, I mean, this is a game changer. And also, there is now a possibility. So, as far as the listing goes, no, you cannot change the images to make it more appealing to the Hispanic community. But you can use, if you have brand registry, you can use sponsored videos. You can make a video, or you can sponsor videos and a sponsor display. You can make images for that specific market, or that specific keyword. So, for example, we are launching in sponsor display. We're launching a campaign for the Hispanic market for all the Spanish keywords that we have. For that, we can put a picture that reflects the Hispanic community. So, for example, for the griddle, and I'll take this again. So, what do you use the griddle for? Like, you guys normally?
Like a flat top griddle, or like pancakes or bacon?
Perfect.
Breakfast, yes.
Right? So if you go to a griddle on Amazon, you probably will see a pancake, a bacon, or breakfast, right? But the Mexican community use that for tacos and quesadillas and tortillas. So now that you know that, you will make a picture of the same griddle. Instead of a pancake, you will put a tortilla. Instead of a bacon, you will put a quesadilla, and you will advertise your griddle with a Spanish keyword with that image. So right there, you will see like conversions will go way high, because you are speaking to them, versus thinking that you're gonna put a Spanish keyword and you're gonna use your same pancakes picture. That will just go away. They will dismiss it, because that's not what they use it for. And that's extremely important about understanding that market. The griddle, we're talking the same product. They use it for other stuff. So I don't know. I can tell you, it's funny, and now I can have a story about my family, or my mom. My mom is a doctor back in Venezuela, and when we cut ourselves, or we get rashes and stuff like that, you know what she put on us instead of alcohol? You know, when you put alcohol or something to heal or disinfect the scar, or the, how do you call it? When you cut yourself. When you cut it, you put alcohol on it, and you clean it, disinfect it, and then you go away. So it's funny, because my mom, she's a doctor. She when we were little, she used Listerine. You know, the thing that you use to wash your mouth? That is, so think about it. That has antibacterial powers, they kill bacteria, blah blah blah,
Right.
all the things that it does for your mouth.
Yeah.
My mom used to use it to heal our cuts. So same product, same thing. And I'm not saying go, if you're selling Listerine or something like that, go advertise for cuts. Maybe that's not allowed. But what I'm saying is that culturally, we have different uses for the same stuff. And once you get super well versed in that demographic, you can spot opportunities that are there. They will always there, and you're just not seeing them. So I think that most sellers are blind to these opportunities, and you can have laser targeting that consumer with images, with the sponsor videos and sponsor display specifically for that market and those keywords in Spanish.
But how do you learn about that without having someone on your team, particularly that is in the Spanish community? How do you even know, hey, it's used for cuts, for example?
Well, it's a lot of research. So what I like to say to people is, if I understand that what I'm saying is huge. So this is huge, and the possibilities are huge. But if you want to take it granular and you don't have the ability to ask a friend that speaks Spanish or something like that, my first go-to will be, well, you really need to have somebody that can guide you with this. But first thing I'll do is go to Google and type the keyword that you can even translate it, like Riddle translate it, and go into Google and find the top products in the markets that you want to sell. So if you go now, you can find a graphic for the Hispanic demographic throughout the country, and it tells you in which states it's the concentration of nationalities, right? So we have a huge concentration of Mexicans in California, a huge concentration of Central Americans in Texas. So it tells you that. So you investigate, you get your homework there, and then you go to those country marketplace. I'll recommend to use Mercado Libre, right? And go to find the griddle, or go to find that product that you're selling there and see what they are doing and they are selling. So you look at the top competitor in that marketplace that is selling the griddle but for tortillas, and see what pictures they're putting there, what keywords they're using to explain that. Because technically, if they're on the top, if they're the top seller for that keyword, the product must be good and they are conveying the message. So that's when you don't know anything about it. You just look at the competition in those countries, and that's important. Like, you need to go to those countries and see what they say, what they like, and what they do. And if you don't, or then potentially hire somebody and a specialist that can help you with this. So I believe that, similar to translation services of like, oh, let me translate your listing, there are also keyword research services that can help you with keyword research. And obviously, when they do that keyword research, if they are good, they should do like a demographic research. Because I need to know if what you're selling appeals more to the Hispanic that is in Mexico or Central America than the ones that are in South America. Sometimes I've seen products that they are very popular in Central America that we don't have in Venezuela, like we don't have in South America. So it's a lot of research, and I feel that the best thing you can do is hire somebody that can help you with that in Spanish, or ask a friend. I believe we are so many. I bet that you know somebody that speaks Spanish that you can ask a couple of questions and see that. And the funny thing is that there is, for one keyword like almohada, which is pillow, there are many different words in Spanish to explain the same thing. And in different countries, it's called different. So it's very cool. The opportunity is huge, and we can just test. Once you get that, probably you won't have enough data, because there are not like market research tool in Spanish, unfortunately. Helium can give you a little bit of it, but you cannot filter. So you cannot go to Helium 10 and say like, hey, I want all the keywords in Spanish for this listing. That's not possible. But then you can test it with your own campaigns, or in the Product Opportunity Explorer. If you have brand registry, you have that option to search for that keyword and see if it's worth it or not. And yeah, I mean, again, as you said, Francois, even 0.5% improvement in sales is huge, because we are more and more seeing that the market is getting so competitive, and 0.5% is worth a lot, and a lot of money. More people are on Amazon, so 0.5% is a lot. And the other thing, in my opinion, that changed in the past years is that before we were used to go on Amazon and sell on Amazon thinking about like we are optimizing for a market deficiency. So we see an opportunity, we see a market, there is demand, but there is not enough offer, right? We are like we're seeing those inefficiencies in the market, and we're going in, right? That was like a lot time ago. Now because it's getting more competitive, every time you go to a niche, it's like there's so much competition. So now the game on Amazon is like seeing how we can improve and all the things that we can do better within the opportunities we already have, within the things that are already in place. So the ones that the sellers that start optimizing and cover the inefficiencies within the same system will win in the long term, not the ones that are thinking about keep launching new lines, because the saturation is so much. So with your own product, you don't need to launch a new line, you don't need to launch a new product for the Hispanic market. You just need to be optimized for that sale.
And I feel like, particularly the Hispanic community, once they see that they get a very good experience with a certain purchase, they will likely go back to that brand, just like anyone else getting a good experience with anything. But if it speaks to them, it definitely will. Have you seen any brands starting to incorporate Spanish into their packaging?
Well, not the ones that I work with, but I like big brand names, and that's the other thing. I feel that in this space we are getting into the era of professionalization of the industry. So if you go to your supermarket, you can find a big brand name, a P&G brand, and go to the packaging, and you will see that it's in English and in Spanish. At least the subtitle of what the product is, or the slogan, or whatever, it is in Spanish. So if we want to build a brand for the long term, and we want to do business like for many, many, many years, I think that we need to get more professionalized in that way, and cover all angles. I don't know if, for example, P&G is required to have that Spanish by the government or regulation. I don't think so, because if you go to areas where there is a lot of Russian concentration, for example, you can see the same P&G product, but with the Russian information as well. So these guys know about segmentation. They know about demographics. They have done the research. And yeah, we cannot, as small business owners, we cannot compare to the P&Gs of the world. We don't have that much research, power, researching power, but we can do better. And I don't think that the packaging will really move the needle that much. First, we can start by talking to them well, like having that like conversation and the communication, good copy. Then we can target them, right? We can add advertising on Amazon, like specifically for them. And the other thing that you can do, which now I'm playing with that and it's extremely exciting, is doing Amazon attribution and the bonus referral program. So Amazon attribution is adding a link or driving traffic to your Amazon listing. So there is a tool out there called Pixel Me, and with Pixel Me, you can run ads. You can run Facebook ads, Google ads, TikTok, Instagram, and so, for example, there you can put a picture that speaks to that customer, right? They see the Hispanic community, they see their griddle with tortillas and quesadillas, so they click on it, and then they will go to the Amazon page, which potentially is optimized completely, the whole copy in Spanish, to drive the sale. So there are many things that you can do right now that are tangible to address that market, rather than just like, oh, let me call my supplier and say like, we need to add Spanish to the packaging. I don't think that'll do anything for you if you are not even targeting that market right now. So
unless you're in brick and mortar, maybe.
Yes, that's what I was gonna add. That information in the packaging is there because they need to talk to the people that are walking to the aisle and taking that and seeing, okay, let me buy it. Our packaging, it's the pro detail page. That's the only thing they see. They cannot touch it, they cannot feel it. That's what they see. So think about, we need to package our experience in Spanish through the copy and through the images that we see, and through the ads as well. So yeah, it's extremely fun. There is a lot to do, a lot, and I don't know. I'm super happy to see what are the things that we have done for customers when we target those, and we are not changing anything. We're sometimes we in some cases we are not even targeting the ads for them at all. We're just optimizing the back end and the front end, and the change in conversion for the Spanish keywords is massive. So we're talking about 100% times more than before. So yeah, that's extremely exciting.
One question, I know we're approaching the top of the hour, but we talked about sort of changing, or when you go into translating your listing by changing the flag to, see Spanish, what exactly are you changing in your listing in order for the Spanish translation to be optimized?
Right. So if you go right now and you see your listing and you see a huge discrepancy between the title, so a lot of the times, and this is very common, we in Spanish we're missing bullet points. It's very common. So you see the title that is good, but bullet points are missing, or description is completely missing. So what you need to do is to talk to the translation team. So I've been talking about, so the steps to do this is open a case with seller support. You need to explain the situation. You need to show them, potentially add to the case the screenshots of your English and your Spanish, so for them to see the discrepancy there. And then you need to request that to be escalated to the translation team. That's the only team that will be able to update that for you. You cannot do it yourself. And it's a request. Some people, so a lot of people ask me like, hey, so I need to send them the information that I want them to put. No, you don't need to. If you want, you can request that change. But in my experience, or in the experience of the agency and all of the cases that we have worked on, that is not working. You can request some little like missing keywords. So, for example, for your brand name, or for a specific keyword that is not translatable into Spanish, sometimes the system just takes it away. So you can request to put it back, or don't translate that because it's a trademark or something, a type of fabric, for example. That's one example that came to mind because that was a case that we had with one seller. So a type of fabric that's the name, and it's the name in English, it's the name in Spanish, it's the same name in Chinese, it's the same. And they were just taking it out because there was no translation. So we request that to be added there. And yeah, it's a very easy process. A lot of seller support, first line of seller support, won't know about the translation team. It's not a common thing to be escalated to. But if you say like, hey, this team exists and you can do it, like you can escalate it, please request it, they need to pay attention to you, and they will do it. And in less than I don't know, 48 hours, your listing should have changed to the update. So what you do there is, imagine that your listing in English is a body of information. So you're making the shadow, which is the Spanish one, exactly the same. Sometimes there's a huge disconnect between those. Now you want to connect them. And that's the best analogy that I can give you, is that it is a shadow. It is not a new ASIN. It is not a new SKU. You don't need to create a new product. You don't need to request to get that change manually. The escalation team will do it for you, and they will close the breach.
Fantastic. That's a great little hack. That's a great tip.
Sounds easy enough to do.
Yeah. It does sound easy enough. Well, Vanessa, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. I forgot to warn you ahead of time with this question, as I usually do, but we want to give you an opportunity to tell us about your business and what an ideal client looks like to work with you guys.
Oh, amazing. So our agency is called Online Seller Solutions. You can go to onlinesellersolutions.com and think about, we do Amazon account management of the unsexy stuff. So we focus in catalog, inventory, and account health. So I like to give this analogy. It's like our agency is like a car shop that you go to. If your account or if your car is broken, you go to a shop and you get it fixed. So we do the problem solving. We fix listings, restrictions, listings that are suppressed, inventory that is like damaged, lost, it has discrepancies, or account health with complaints and stuff like that. And we also can help you to build a strategy to make those things better in order to drive sales. We don't directly focus in PPC, but as I was mentioning, we can, with your team or with yourself, if you're the seller that is working in the PPC, we can give you the tips that you can do. We optimize the listings in the back end. So we focus a lot in the back end of what is happening in your account. And our ideal customer is like, so we have two types of customers. First one, the ones that have problems and they need to get that specific problem solved. So people come to us and say like, hey, Vanessa, this listing is broken, or this variation needs to be fixed, or I have this account health issue. We just go into their account, we fix the issue, parachute in, parachute out, that's done. For the other type of client is the management client that needs us every single day. And these are big brands, big catalogs that have issues all the time, normally in sensitive categories. So categories that are used to get triggered for stuff. So the medical category is supplements, personal care, and yeah, a lot of those. I mean, we have worked with every single like kind of category, but those are the ones that are on fire every single day. So
constantly.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah. It doesn't make sense to have a project every time. So that's why we go and manage. And yeah, we are now helping our brands to do the brand building and seeing all the data. So we focus a lot on analyzing that data in the back end. How can we see what is happening, what is broken, and not in the oh, the listing is suppressed. No, more like, okay, we have this data. Now what can we do to get this into a context of what is happening in the market in information, so we can do better decisions. And I think my team helps a lot into understanding that to make informed decisions. So to increase the advertising or decrease the advertising, or like order more products or not. So we integrate a lot with like restock with inventory, or if you need to launch, we do tests of bundles and say like, yeah, this is a good opportunity or this is not. So everything that is there, like brand building, the lines and stuff, and yeah, for problem solving as well for single projects.
Awesome. And again, we love an easy URL for the audio audience. It's just onlinesellersolutions.com. That'll be linked. Perfect. Vanessa, thank you so much for your time today. This has been fabulous. And again, if anybody missed your talk at Prosper, they can catch on the Prosper remix, which there were so many great conversations. We should probably buy that package too and see the ones that we missed because there were too many tracks going on at the same time. It was like, okay, which of
we'll watch
these
Vanessa's
6
again.
talks are you going to go see? But perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, guys, and have a great weekend.
You too, dear. And thank you for everybody who's tuned in. If you guys liked what you heard today, be sure to give us a thumbs up, comment with your thoughts, share this episode with your friends, subscribe to the show, and be sure to turn on those notifications. And that way you are always up to date on any new conversations that we have with leaders in supply chain and e-commerce like Vanessa Hung. So everybody have a great day. Have a happy Earth Day, fantastic weekend, and we will see everybody soon. Happy Earth Day.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.